Joined by the Justice Secretary Dominic Raab. Good morning to you, Mr. Raab. Thank you for joining us this morning. We know that you met Diana Parks the day that she'd been in to talk through her concerns with the situation with the killer of her daughter, of course. These changes to sentencing guidelines won't actually help with the case of her daughter's killer to keep him in prison, will it? But, of course, they'll be welcomed regardless.
Yes, thank you. Well, I met with Diana and what an incredible individual she is. And, of course, I understand the anguish she's going through. And I made it very clear within the existing powers that I have, I will look very carefully at that case and see what I can do. Of course, I don't want to prejudice any decisions that I take in relation to release, which will take place nearer the time. More generally, in relation to controlling and coercive behaviour, and that, if you like, that slow torment up to the point of murder in domestic abuse cases, we want to, and I think the case is made now, for increasing the sentencing to reflect the full anguish and pain involved. So I'll increase the sentences through a statutory aggravating factor. That would probably increase, subject to, of course, the court deciding the sentence in a typical case by anything up to 2 years or possibly more. Again, it's for a court to decide. And I'll also look at a starting point of 25 years in those cases. Yeah. On top of those kind of cases, I'm also looking at increasing the sentencing in overkill cases, which are frenetic, frenzied murders, the kind of appalling murder that Ellie Gould and Poppy Devi Waterhouse suffered. And I'm also looking at increasing sentences in manslaughter cases where the perpetrator, almost always a man, makes what's called a rough sex defence. So, for example, strangulation or some other violence leads to the death of the victim and the individual claims that they consented to the sex. Yeah. In all of these areas, I want the men spending longer behind bars. I want women to have confidence that we're doing everything we can to protect them.
Which is what we all want, of course. As you will know, undoubtedly, the number of domestic abuse-related crimes has gone up 100% in the last 8 years. The number of people being charged for the crimes has gone down. You're bringing in all these new measures, which hopefully will secure things up when people finally get charged or they get to court. But what about the backlog of cases, the backlog of people that haven't been charged? That's a real issue, isn't it, that we've got to try and improve the statistics there?
Yes, we've got to take action. Police referrals, CPS charging, Crown Court receipts and the sentencing. And we're doing all of that. And I can tell you in the last year alone, the volume of convictions in rape cases has gone up by 2/3. I've quadrupled the amount of funding for victims since 2010. We've increased the sentencing already in relation to certain dangerous, violent and sexual offences. But there's more to do. There's a whole range of things I could talk about. But I think with the sentencing changes that we're introducing, you can see how serious we are about making sure that women have confidence that the awful crimes perpetrated against them will be properly met with longer jail time. And that will also, we hope, deter crimes in the future. We're there to do everything we can to protect vulnerable women, particularly in domestic abuse cases, but also across the board.
It's hugely important work. We feel very involved on this programme. We've met Diana Parks, Joanna Simpson's mother. We've interviewed many other cases of people who want exactly what you're tackling. But it can't be avoided. I just wanted to know how challenging it is for you as Justice Secretary dealing with these very issues that are so important. When only yesterday on Sky, a report came out. They claimed that they'd spoken to people who are part of this case and these accusations of bullying. They use words like staff were reduced to tears because they accuse, use coercive behaviour, the very language of some of these laws that you're tackling. It must make it very challenging for you.
Well, look, of course, I've said I'll fully cooperate with the inquiry. I'm not going to comment on anonymous reports. It is contrary to the rules of the inquiry for anyone, me or anyone else, to be going and giving media reports. But can I just say, any equivalence that is being suggested by you or anyone else between the kind of murder cases we're talking about and anything that I've been accused of, let alone doing, is frankly pretty unconscionable.
Yeah, I'm not drawing in any way that. I'm asking you, as a person doing an extraordinarily important job, which you're clearly passionate about, as Justice Secretary, wouldn't remotely do that. That is utterly unconscionable, as you say, for all those who suffered that abuse. I'm saying that you have to focus on the job, you have to deal with it. There are some who've suggested that maybe if you stepped away for the time being until this report comes out, and you obviously very confident that you'll be cleared of any allegations in it. If there is any concern about that, would you resign? And do you know when you will know and we will have an answer?
I don't, and I won't comment on the inquiry because, as I said, it's contrary to the rules of the inquiry for me to do so. What I would say is that, of course, I've said I've behaved professionally throughout. Look, I am energetic. I'm restless to do the kinds of reforms that we've just been talking about just a few moments ago. And I think in all of that, I keep in my mind the victims, whether it's Diana Park or the many other victims I meet. And they're the ones that I'm here to serve. So I will continue as energetically as I can to do that and not allow my focus to be distracted from it.
Can we ask you briefly as well about the report into the Met Police, which is due to be published next week? There is scathing opinion about what is going to be revealed in that report. There's a real concern, isn't there, Mr. Raab, with trust in the police force as things stand. More than 1,500 police officers have been accused of violent offences against women and girls in a 6-month period. That must be a real concern for you, how we can address those issues with this report coming into what the Met is facing, but the police force as a wider force as well.
Yes, absolutely. But look, there's no ducking this, and that's why the Casey review is so important. We will look forward to it being published on top of the work that Met Commissioner Mark Rowley is doing on vetting, on weeding out anyone who might pose a threat to women. And I think we have to tackle it square on and do everything we can to make sure that those that would threaten women are rooted out. And of course, whether it's the police right the way through to the sentencing we're talking about, it's absolutely vital. I regard it as my very top priority as Justice Secretary to make sure that women from start to finish have got confidence in the justice system that is there to protect them.
OK, let's leave it there. Dominic Raab, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good to speak to you this morning, Justice Secretary.